Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Charge from the EV Geek podcast. We're your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and today, December 20th, 2024, we have a handful of topics to talk about, including a partnership between GM Energy and ChargePoint, a potential merger between some fairly prominent automakers, price slashing on everyone's favorite EV, and then just a couple other stories. So without further ado, let's plug in. So, our first topic for today is that there is a new partnership between ChargePoint and GM Energy. So, this was announced earlier this week, and as part of a partnership, GM Energy and ChargePoint are expecting to install around 500 DC fast chargers with speeds of up to 500 kilowatts. The plan is to use the ChargePoint Express Plus hardware, and the chargers are expected to feature ChargePoint's new Omni port, which is a built-in CCS to NACS adapter. However, I believe ChargePoint says that the CCS to NACS adapter won't work with the Cybertruck because it's not long enough, which seems like a weird thing for you to do on a brand new product, but I digress. Mm-hmm. This is also an additional partnership to the existing GM and EV Go partnership, as well as GM's role in Iona.
So I'm glad this is happening. You know, when we talked about this a couple of days, we were kind of wondering how that would affect the EV Go partnership, but I guess it doesn't, and I guess it doesn't affect their partnership with Iona. I mean, and honestly, ChargePoint needs this. I mean, I know they've been struggling for a while to team up with people and to find people to help, you know, with their ChargePoint chargers, because they're just they just sell them. They don't manage them or anything like that. So yeah. Kudos. Hopefully this just expands the EV charging sector across the nation, and hopefully these things are reliable. That's the big thing. Are these things going to work? Are they going to be down all the time? That remains to be seen. But I'm glad it's going to be up to 500 kilowatts. Don't understand the whole thing about the long enough for the Cybertruck. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I'm going to scratch my head on that one. I don't understand about that one. Maybe they'll clarify that later. So yeah, great news. And we kind of figured we would see over the years that some charging people would come together to start working with manufacturers. I like this better than giving out free charging. So yes, continue to do this.
Yep. Keeping on a GM subject, GM is recalling the 2025 Equinox EV. So GM is going to be recalling around 7,600 Equinox EVs for a kind of weird reason. They're too quiet. So on these 7,600 cars, the pedestrian warning sounder does not make enough noise to qualify to be Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard compliant. Big legal name, whatever. I thought it was interesting on this though, because on the cars affected, GM is saying that owners will need to bring the cars into a dealership to have a software update performed, even though the Equinox supports over-the-air updates.
That doesn't make sense.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't get it. In my brain, and my first thought was like, oh, well, maybe it has to be done by a dealership so that they can actually clear the recall. But I mean,
Tesla does it all the time.
Tesla does recalls all the time and just
Rivian,
uses update like Rivian, like. So I don't know why, unless for some reason maybe it is the pedestrian warning sounder on some chip that doesn't get touched by the OTAs. That's the only thing I can think of. But I thought the Equinox was a pretty well integrated vehicle, because I know like they've done OTAs that have helped charge performance and stuff like that. Yeah. So I would think if you can already touch those modules, you'd be able to touch all modules. But I don't know. I just thought that part was weird.
Yeah, I'm looking through the article here from Electric. I don't see anything about it, but they said they fixed it at their assembly plant on October 16th. So it was something, you're right, maybe it's something that can't be done over the air. So
yeah,
maybe it's something like a physical, like you said, something that to physically go in and replace. I mean, I don't remember. So we drove the Equinox, and we have the review of it on our podcast. So if you want to check that out, I don't remember the sound. Do you? Do you remember it being too quiet? I don't remember that.
I don't remember the sound at all.
Yeah.
But if it's anything like my Bolt, it's probably just like static, you know, so it doesn't bother me. I just don't even notice it.
It doesn't have the weird spaceship sound like the Teslas have? No
I don't know.
backup.
It might, but
Or
maybe it
fart
was too
noises,
silent.
which you
Maybe.
could do that too. Fart noises.
Yeah,
Do
maybe
its
it was
thing.
too quiet, and maybe we just didn't hear it. But I just have a feeling it's probably just a static noise.
And you have to realize too, it was pouring down raining too. We were to the Equinox too, so that could have been
Yeah,
another reason why too. Yep.
yeah. Moving on. This is I don't love covering speculation. I just want to come right out and say it. However, it's worth talking. This is a little bit worth talking about. So a story came out this week that Honda and Nissan might be in talks of merging. So that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So these talks kind of started earlier this week, and this is following Nissan and Honda having an MOU together, a memorandum of understanding, for those who maybe don't know what that term means. Because the MOU from earlier this year was that Honda and Nissan were going to partner up to kind of do EV technology and EV software together. And now potentially maybe they become one. If this merger was to happen, it is also expected that Mitsubishi would come with, because Nissan owns 24% of Mitsubishi, and Mitsubishi is also basically dead at this point.
Yes.
So we'll just drag the carcass around a little bit longer.
Yep. Bring out your dead. So yeah.
But the interesting part on this is just, Nissan has been having a hard time. And I don't I understand why there was a lot of corruption and kind of big issues a little while ago that I think they've never fully recovered from. However, I don't think they make bad cars.
No.
They don't, their models look solid. Like, they might be kind of generic and boring sometimes, but their models seem solid. I see Altimas freaking everywhere. They seem to be doing pretty okay, but apparently they're not. And there's been executives that were unnamed, but I saw quoted that saying that Nissan, if they didn't get some form of cash infusion or buyout or whatever, saying that Nissan allegedly could have 12 to 14 months left, which is a pretty ominous warning, because that's not a long time in the business world. That makes me think of Fisker and how all that ship went down.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I don't know. If Honda and Nissan are merging, it sounds like it needs to happen quick.
Yeah, so according to this, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, a lot of people who are against EVs have this closed mindset about the U.S. in EVs. A lot of these talks are happening because of what's going on in China. I mean, these companies used to be good sellers in China. I mean, Nissan and Honda and Toyota, they used to sell a lot of cars. They used to partner with China, because in China you get to partner with one of their dealers to work on cars, and they used to sell cars. Well, now that China's making their own homegrown EVs, these companies are getting, mutilated over there. They're just not selling any cars anymore. So they got to figure out something to do in China, and the best way to do it is to merge. I don't know if this is a long-term solution. I think eventually we're just going to see some of these people just pull out of China, because it's just not going to be fiscal responsible. It's just not going to be fiscal responsible for them to stay in there, just to keep losing money. I mean, we've already heard rumors that GM and I believe it's SAIC may not renew their partnership for Chinese automobiles. That may be another news story for another week. But yeah, I mean, this all has to deal with China. When people ask us about EVs, and it's not going to happen here in the U.S. because we love our gas cars, I'm like, it has nothing to do with the U.S. China's a leader in EVs, and if these companies can't sell overseas, then we're going to have big issues. And we kind of saw the writing on the wall of Nissan. They've been slow to the EV game. I mean, they came out with one of the first EVs, and then they just kind of didn't do anything for 5 to 7 years. And then it came out with the Aria, which we're going to get a chance to review here in a couple of weeks. But I mean, it's not blazing, knock you off your shoes kind of an EV. So I mean, it's a decent, solid EV, I'm sure, but it's nothing that's going to blow anyone away. It's not relatively cheap. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad Honda's get some help. Hopefully this rumor turns into facts and we can see some partnerships. I mean, Honda partnered with a little bit, I guess, for about a hot minute with GM, but that kind of seems to have fizzled away. I think they at one point had a partnership with Sony to make cars too. I don't know if that's still around.
Know, man.
I mean, Honda's just kind of stretching for partnerships now to kind of help out. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, because if it doesn't play out, I'm worried about Nissan, because we kind of figured over the next 2 to 5 years, some of these people were not going to make it. And maybe Nissan is the first one.
Yep. Moving on. Toyota is slashing the price on everyone's favorite EV. So Toyota is going to be slicing. Oh, did I say everyone's favorite? I meant everyone's least favorite
There you
EV.
go. Thank you.
So Toyota is going to be slashing the price of the BZ4X by up to $6,000 for 2025. Also for 2025, they're adding a new trim level called Nightshade. And it falls somewhere in the middle of the range, which was previously a 2 trim level range. But on paper, it doesn't really seem like they've done a lot of other real changes to the vehicle. I saw there was a couple like ADAS additions, but range is still low. 252 miles at best, 222 miles at worst. And they've made no notes on if they've fixed anything to do with charging or anything else. They've just made it cheaper. And again, they've made it cheaper, and yes, it's 38 grand, but there's competition at that price range now, because you could also buy an Equinox or a heavily discounted Ioniq 5 or like it or a Model Y still.
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't understand this car. I don't know.
Yeah, so looking at this article from Motor Trend we got in the screen right now, it looks like current models, according to Toyota, the current 2024 models, you can get up to $11,500 cash back. But
well, you have to do that when you don't sell any.
I know. I mean, they're not. There's nothing. I mean, no spoilers, but we kind of talk about this in our one. We do 2 episodes coming up: worst EVs and best EVs, and this is going to be one of them. We're not going to tell you which one, but hint, hint. It just, yeah. I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't look good on paper. I mean, looking at it on paper, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I actually passed one today, and it looks okay. You're right. We talked about this earlier. I can't get over that little plastic around, the wheels of this one and the Solterra, which is a sister car. So yeah, I mean, this car should be $25,000. So, and then now you're in Bolt range, because you're in Bolt range for mileage, for efficiency. So, I mean,
yeah,
I can see it as a $25,000 car, not a $38,000 car.
Yeah. And especially couldn't see it as a $44,000 car.
Yep. I mean, there would be
$50,000 car for the top trim.
I would buy a Mach-E, Model Y, EV6, Ioniq 5.
Yeah, that's because I completely forgot about that. That the Mach-E for 2025 is going to start at like 36 grand.
Yeah, Equinox.
Why would you buy a BZ4X?
I know. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Think about that when we recorded our other episode.
I know. So, yeah, I mean, the Mach-E, and it gets more range. You get about what I think probably 40 to 50 more. I can't talk today. Miles of range on a Mach-E. So.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know why I forgot about the Mach-E. I like the Mach-E, but yeah, it just completely skirted my mind.
Because you're getting old, Sebastian. You're getting old.
Well, moving on.
Yes.
Talking about a vehicle that's getting old.
Long in the tooth.
Tesla has added free supercharging for life to Model S cars. So starting with orders placed on or after December 13th of 2024, Tesla will be adding free supercharging to its Tesla Model S. Of note, this free supercharging is tied to the owner's account, cannot be transferred to another vehicle or another owner, and Tesla says they reserve the right to cancel at any time if they think you're using it for ride sharing or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
If they think you are abusing your free supercharging, which, I mean, it's a car, it's meant to be driven. Like, if you're going to give me free supercharging, let me just charge the dang thing. Anyway, I digress.
Yep.
I just thought this was interesting because this is one of those, I believe this is one of those programs that were like, oh, this is never coming back. We're never doing it again. But then they've done it. But they only did it on Model S. That was the other part that was interesting to me. If it was, because the car is long in the tooth, not selling super well, I would have thought they would add it to Model X as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're similar in age, similar platforms, same starting price. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that they've kind of brought this back, but then, added some stipulations or whatever, which is normal, but I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, and we never really know, like, Model S sales, because when Tesla always announces their sales, they always clump Model S. Recently, Model S, Model X, and Cybertruck have all been kind of clumped together, so we really don't know how well the Model S is selling. I mean, we've seen it come down in price over the years, but I mean, that's all we know. And like we said, Tesla has these levers. Like I've said before, they're like the Wizard of Oz. They're just back there just pulling different levers to make things go. We're like, oh, we'll pull the free supercharging lever for Model S. And then, oh, we'll pull this lever for this to build sales. I mean, I guess they're trying to increase sales. You know, I've already read stories about how their sales are not looking good in Europe right now. I believe they're down like 14%. So, I mean, they got to figure out ways to keep selling vehicles. You know, they're going to keep getting pressure in China. They're going to keep getting pressure in here in the U.S. when people other companies start releasing their cars. And and with, you know, Elon taking political stances, that's going to probably drive some people away as well. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what the next year holds for Tesla and what's going to happen with their sales. So.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
You know, and I kind of also thought it was weird talking about their demand levers and all that. You know, they were doing the 0% on Model Y and Model 3, which is great, but then they ended it in the middle of December and then didn't replace it with anything.
Yeah.
Which
and I think I
was
read,
weird.
Did they just raise the price of the Model S too? I may have read that somewhere. I could be wrong.
It starts at, I believe it starts at $79.9 now instead of $75 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a substantial increase.
And so I think Model S, Model X, and Cybertruck now all start at the same price.
All $79.9. Yep.
Yeah. So it was like we made the car $5,000 more expensive, but hey, you get free supercharging for life.
Yeah, yeah. And
which I mean, I guess you could probably do the math, and that probably wouldn't take as long as you would think it would take to equal out.
Yeah, I mean, I probably supercharge a lot once or twice a year, so I may spend on supercharging $100 to $200 a year. So for someone like me, it would take me a while to recuperate that $5,000.
But if you're someone like, I don't know, Kyle Connor or something, it wouldn't take near as long. But at the same time, if you're someone like Kyle Connor or something, Tesla might just take it away because they think you're abusing it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and we've heard Tesla take stuff away before. I mean, we used to have recently we had the free Slacker radio streaming, and Tesla said, nope, not anymore. If you want it, you got to pay for it. So, yep. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of Tesla for. They have the power to do that, and they will if they think you're abusing it, or if they don't want to do it anymore.
Yep. All right. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode. Thank you all for plugging into the Friday Charge. Be sure to subscribe to EV Geek Podcast on YouTube and tap that notification icon so you can be notified about new releases. We had some great content released this week, including both the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 review videos. Had pretty similar opinions on the two cars, but there's definitely one you should buy before you buy the other one.
That's right.
So go check those out. And next week, as Joel previously alluded to, we will be releasing our best of and worst of 2024 videos. So we kind of have already done a similar topic, but this time we're trying to focus in really on what was for 2024.
Yep.
You know, not just like our general what we like the best, what we don't like the best, but like actual focus in 2024. And then maybe next year we can do this is the best and worst from 2025. That's kind of our idea on it. We'll see. It depends on how people like it.
That's right.
But definitely stay tuned for that because someone here had a pretty controversial opinion and you'll want to hear it. If you guys have any thoughts or questions, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. So long, everyone, and we will see you again on the next episode of The Friday Charge.